Hey, Squalcom staff. So this is Alex, and I'm going to kind of walk you through how to set up a class notebook in OneNote. So the first thing that we're going to do is go to a web browser, and I really like Google Chrome. So once we launch that, it'll take you to the Squalcom homepage, and then you go to Office 365 right here. Click that, log in to your school email. And once you're logged into Office 365, this is going to be the screen that's going to pop up. And these are all just different tools that Microsoft 365 provides. And the two that we're going to be really working with today are OneNote and Class Notebook. Class Notebooks are housed inside of OneNote. So this button right here really is only for managing class notebooks, setting one up, creating one for the first time, adding teachers, adding students. If and when you're trying to kind of add things to the notebook, you're always going to be going to this icon right here, the OneNote, to access the content and the physical class notebook. So since we're creating one for the first time today, that is what we're going to start with. So we're going to click this class notebook, and then you'll be prompted to this screen. And since we're doing this for the first time, for most of us, we're going to go kind of slow. So creating a class notebook is our first step. Today we're going to we're not going to learn how to add or remove students or teachers, but we are just going to do the bare bones basics of creating a class notebook. Okay, so we're going to click here, and it gives you kind of an example. So you've picked a focus class, so I recommend you write down what that focus class is. So we'll just say for this example, we'll do US history, period 2, 2017. I really recommend you put in the year, especially if you end up creating a new class notebook for next year. It'll make things a lot easier for you to organize. And then once you've done that, once you have your title of the class, you're going to move on to and click next. And this really just gives you an overview of what you are creating. Okay, so each class notebook comes with a collaboration space. And a collaboration space is where teachers can edit the content. Students can also edit content. So it's a place where students and teachers can kind of work together on the same thing. You can create different groups where you have groups of students working in the same place in this part of the notebook. The content library is something that we're going to get familiar with today, which is kind of where you put all of your documents or things you want students to have access to. Okay, so you can edit this, but students cannot edit it. Okay, so if you, for example, put like a template for Cornell notes up here on in your content library, students wouldn't be able to change the format or anything like that, but they could copy it and move it into their own notebook. So it's kind of where you will publish your course materials for the students, and then in a later video, I'll show you how to kind of distribute pages from your content library to your students' notebooks. Okay. And with every class notebook, you'll also be creating student notebooks. So, and a student notebook is really their private space for them to work on your assignments, your materials. Okay, so teachers can edit that content in a student notebook, and students can also edit their content. However, they can only view their own notebook. They can't view other students, whereas as the teacher, you'll be able to view all of your students' notebooks. So this is just an overview, and we're going to kind of move on to the next step. So this next step is talking about, how is there a teacher I work with and we're co-teaching this class, and I can give them permission to also use this class notebook as a teacher. So this is a great resource if you're co-teaching or if you have a student teacher. But for the purposes of today, we're going to skip this piece since it's likely that you are the only instructor for that class. And here's where you start to add student names and add students to your class notebook. And we're going to skip this part today as well because it can be a little time consuming. Sometimes you're able just to type in their last name and it'll populate their name based on Office 365 and our subscription to that through the Bellingham School District. Other times you can do, and have a video showing you how to do this, but basically generate a list of your students in Excel with their emails right there, and you can copy and paste their emails. The nice thing is once you've done this, added their emails once, you don't have to do that ever again. They'll be added to the notebook until you remove them. And so for the purposes of today, though, we're going to not add any students to our class notebook. We're really just focusing on setting one up. And so we're going to skip this piece today, and there'll be a later video on how to add students to your class notebook. So this next step really sets up your students' notebook. So they, just like if you had a binder with different sections, this is how it kind of divides. These are the default sections for the class notebook. So you have handouts, class notes, homework, and quizzes. You don't have to keep all of these. These are just a default. Maybe you just want to use handouts and you just want to have a quizzes section in each student's notebook, and you can always add more. You can add your own custom sections like projects. And whatever you add here or change here is always something that you can change later. This is just for that initial setup. Okay, so for this example, we're just going to have a handouts tab, a quizzes tab, and a projects tab. So this last step is really nice because it kind of shows you a preview of what your notebook will look like from both the teacher's perspective and the student's perspective. So the teacher's notebook will look a lot like this. You'll have the name of the notebook right here, the welcome page that talks to you a little bit about how to use OneNote, and you can always edit and change kind of what your welcome page looks like. What I've done in the past is I like to kind of make it that here's my class syllabus, here's what the class is about type of page. And then these are those 3 tabs that we decided on. So the handouts, quizzes, and projects tabs. You'll have your collaboration space over here and then your content library over here. And remember that all students will be able to see the collaboration space and the content library. However, you're really in control as the teacher as to what goes into those 2 places. Now, in your view, once you've added students, your students' names will appear below content library. There's your students' notebooks. However, they will only see their name right here, and that's where all of their content will be housed. So that's the teacher's view. The student's view will look like this. So when the student pulls up their notebook, they're going to see the welcome page, they're going to see the name of the notebook, the collaboration space, your content library, and then their name will be right here. And then they'll have their 3 tabs. So our handouts, quizzes, and project tabs. And so if you, for instance, said, hey, so you have a new handout in your class notebook, students will have to come over here, click on their name, and click on handouts, and it will populate that handout that you distributed to them right there. So these are just the 2 views. It really helps to kind of get a sense for what it's going to look like. And we are pretty much done. So you hit create, starts to set up your class notebook. And this can take a little bit of time. And then it will take you to this done page. And now what I'm going to have you do is you're going to open it in OneNote, which is going to take you to the desktop version right here of OneNote. And if you could also go to the OneNote online version, but there are more tools and in the desktop version, so we're going to take you there. So you click that, hit launch application. And the first time, it'll always take a little bit for the new notebook to sync to your other notebooks and kind of align itself with the rest. So this can take some time. And then once it's finished, you'll have this welcome page. It talks to you a little bit about what are some tools that you can use. There's a lot of really good resources here. So like how to use OneNote in the classroom, you can click here and it'll take you to OneNoteInEducation.com, which has got a lot of really good resources. And then it's got a bunch of different tutorials on what you can do within OneNote. Okay, so there's like teacher trainings, teacher basics, teacher scenarios over here. Different resources for students to learn how to use OneNote. and a lot of different other resources that you can use over here. Okay. You'll also notice that there are some features. So you have your collaboration space, which is right up here, one of the tabs up here. And you'll see kind of how to use your collaboration space, what it would look like. This is just the getting started page. You can always delete these when you feel confident in what you're doing. And then always remember you can just go back here. That'll take you back to the main page. Your content library looks like this. This kind of tells you a little bit about what the content library is for, what it looks like, how to use it. And then you can go back, and when you click here, it'll show all the different notebooks that you are a member of or part of, and you'll just want to use that to find kind of which notebook you want to work on. And again, when you have added students to your one notebook, your students' names will be right up here, and you can kind of click their individual notebooks and look at what they have done. So that is it for setting up our class notebook for today, and I'm going to go into the basics of creating or adding a document to the content library in the next video.